sir.
Essentially, say they tell you to come back, but that is the typical. Like, they'll give you court paperwork, they'll give you a date. And typically, how long is the process in between? Yeah, it's just too helpful work. I didn't know. So I think it's going to be tight for you.
Your Honor, this is the jail. Just so you're advised, Scott Roy is still out of the facility at the hospital, and we want to start with Jordan Thomas. He is a police side.
Okay, thank you. Scott, Roy Scott, the first one.
Good morning.
Morning, sir. Can I get your full name, please?
Thomas Ruden, Thomas Joseph Ruden.
All right. Good morning, sir. This is the time set for your initial appearance, Mr. Bearden. I'm seeing you on some misdemeanor charges for threatening and intimidating and assault, which are misdemeanors out of Tucson City Court. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire your own attorney. In certain instances, if you cannot afford one may be appointed for you. So, sir, today, if I release you, do you have somewhere you can go? Do you have some stable housing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Where do you live?
3514 East Glen Street, Tucson.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Bearden, I'm going to release you on your own promise to appear at your next court date. Include no firearms or weapons, no contact with the enlisted victim in this case. Don't go to try to find them or anything. Don't go to the incident location. Your next court date, Mr. Bearden, is going to be April 28th at 9:30 a.m. at the Tucson City Court. You'll get a sheet of paper before you get released from jail this morning. If you fail to appear for court, a warrant can issue for your arrest. Trial can go without you. If you're convicted at a trial in your absence and you're not able to be sentenced within 90 days because you're on warrant status, you may lose your right to a direct appeal. It's in your best interest to show up to court and get this taken care of. You understand all that, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. And it's also the time set for your arraignment. You're presumed innocent. So I'm going to enter not guilty pleas on your behalf, sir. All right, you're excused for today. Thank you.
Let me just ask you real quick, if you, what time on the 28th?
9:30 a.m.
9:30 a.m. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a good day.
You too. Counsel at the jail, can I get your name, please?
Katie Daubert with the Public
Oh,
Defender's Office.
thank you, Ms. Daubert. Sorry, I didn't see you there.
Good to see you, Your Honor.
All right, good morning, sir. Can I get your name, please?
Jaden Robeson.
All right, Mr. Robeson, this is the time set for your initial appearance. I'm seeing you today on some felony charges for aggravated assault, armed robbery, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, aggravated robbery, minor in possession of a firearm, and discharge of firearm in city limits. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to an attorney at all proceedings. I'm appointing the Pima County Public Defender's Office to represent you, and you have counsel seated next to you for purposes of today. I got to set some release conditions. I've reviewed the pretrial services report, the interim complaint. The state's written recommendation is $50,000. Mr. Poston, do you have anything further to add?
Your Honor, this person is alleged to have absolutely beat somebody to a pulp and then shot him in the neck. The alleged victim positively identified the defendant as the shooter. And we're looking at, he's got a significant juvie record. This is a firearms crime. But for the good work of medical professionals, we would be looking at a murder charge here, Your Honor, $50,000. His age is absolutely irrelevant in this case.
All right, thank you. Ms. Daubert?
And just a correction to the facts. The interim complaint makes it very clear that these were non-life threatening injuries. Nevertheless, we acknowledge that Mr. Robeson is 17 years old and ask that you consider that and consider releasing him to the supervision of his family. If you're unwilling to do that, I think that a bond closer to $5,000 is appropriate.
All right, thank you. I do think a bond is appropriate in this matter. An order bond of $30,000, cash or secured, released to pretrial if posted. Conditions include no drugs, no alcohol, absolutely no firearms, monitoring treatment as directed by pretrial, no contact with the alleged victim of the case, do not go to the incident location. And once you're released, provide an attorney with proof of your address. Your next court date, Mr. Robeson, is going to be April 7th at 1:30 p.m., which is a preliminary hearing. That date may or may not go, so just keep in contact with your attorney. If you fail to appear for court, a warrant can issue for your arrest. You understand all that, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. You're excused for today.
Your Honor, this is the jail. We're still waiting for William Samuel to get here, so we're gonna do Ramirez Rihanna next.
Okay, thank you. Morning, can I get your name, please?
It's January 24th, 1998.
All right, thank you, Ms. Ramirez. This is the time set for a review hearing. So you are still in custody due to a probation. I think you're serving a jail sentence right now.
Yeah, I'm terming out my probation for a year
Okay, do you know when
And
that
then I have-
ends?
on April 22nd, I believe.
Okay. All right, so this is for the Maricopa County warrant that you're being held on. So we'll reset this matter to April 28th. So hopefully by then, either you're released from custody on the probation matter or Maricopa County will pick you up on the Maricopa case.
Okay,
Great, thank you, ma'am.
thank you.
Morning, sir. Can I get your name, please?
Hi, my name's Thomas James Gordon.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gordon. This is the time set for your initial appearance. I'm seeing you on a misdemeanor charge for criminal trespass in the second degree out of Pima County out of Sahuarita Municipal Court. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire your own attorney. In certain instances, if you cannot afford one may be appointed for you. Sir, if I release you today, is there somewhere you can stay? Do you have stable housing?
Yes, ma'am, I own a house.
Okay, is that in Sahuarita?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I am going to release you today on your own promise to appear for your next court date, sir. You'll get a sheet of paper when you get released from custody this morning with the date and time. That's going to be April 22nd at 8:30 a.m. at the Sahuarita Municipal Court, which is in Sahuarita. The only conditions include do not have any contact with the listed victim in this case. Oh yeah, it's a business. It's the Fries. So don't go to the Fries because you've been trespassed from there. Okay.
Huh.
All right.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Go ahead.
They,
26.
they said, I keep, no, the 27th, you said it was the date for the court?
April 22nd, 2/2.
Oh, 22nd. Okay, because I have a court date there on the 27th as well. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Thank you.
All right. And there'll be a phone number on the sheet of paper you'll get. So if you can't make it, you call them and let them know to reschedule.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're excused, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
And then let's see.
All right. Thanks.
Morning, sir. Can I get your full name, please?
Yeah, Keyshawn Maurice Chappelle.
Oh, Mr. Chappelle. All right. Good morning, sir. I'm seeing you today on some misdemeanor charges for criminal damage and disorderly conduct, which are alleged to be domestic violence out of Tucson City Court. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire your own attorney. In certain instances, if you cannot afford one, one may be appointed for you. I'm going to appoint the Tucson City Public Defender's Office in this case, sir. Are you currently on probation out of city court right now? Okay. All right. So because you're on probation on this out of city court, I am going to impose a bond in this matter of $250, cash or secured. If you do post it, sir, do not commit any acts of domestic violence, no contact of any kind with the victim in the case, Denise Grant. Don't try to go find her or anything like that. All right. And then if you are released for custody or you post your bond, check in with your probation officer within 1 day if you're released from custody. Your next court date is going to be April 2nd at 1:30 p.m. with Judge Million. If you do fail to appear for court, as you know, warrant can issue for your arrest. Trial can go without you. This is also the time set for your arraignment. You're presumed innocent. I'm going to enter not guilty pleas on your behalf, deny any allegations filed against you. If you've failed to appear for court, like I said, warrant can issue. Trial can go without you. If you're convicted at a trial in your absence and you're not able to be sentenced within 90 days because you're on warrant status, you may lose your right to a direct appeal. You understand all that, Mr. Chappelle? All right, thank you, sir. Your excuse for today. Morning, sir. Can I get your full name, please? Did you say Dorame? Thank you. All right, good morning, Mr. Dorame. This is the time set for your initial appearance. I'm seeing you on some charges today out of Marana City Court for shoplifting and possession of drug paraphernalia, and also seeing you on some Tucson City Court matters, failures to appear for criminal trespass, assault, disorderly conduct, failure to stop, and criminal trespass. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire your own attorney. In certain instances, if you cannot afford one may be appointed for you. For your Tucson City Court cases, sir, looks like the charges have been going on from 2019. There have been multiple failures to appear. So I am going to impose a bond in the Tucson City Court cases, amount of $1,000. It's going to be cash. If you do post it or if you're released, no drugs, no alcohol. Do not commit any acts of domestic violence. No contact with any of the named victims in the cases. Don't try to go find them. I'm going to consolidate the other civil matters that are pending in city court. For city court, your next court date is April 2nd at 1:30 p.m. If you're still in custody, the jail will make sure you get seen. If you're out of custody, it's up to you to make sure you show up to court. For the Saurita. No, I'm imposing a bond of $1,000 because these cases have been going on since 2019 and you have multiple failures to appear. Right. For the Marana City Court case, I'm not done yet. For the Marana City Court case, that one I am going to release you on your own promise to appear. Okay, so no bond on that one. No drugs, no alcohol, no contact with the shoplifting victim. Don't go to the incident location. For that, the next court date's April 30th at 10 a.m. Again, if you're in custody still, the jail will make sure you get seen. If not, it's up to you to make sure you show up to court. You understand all that, sir?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. You're excused for today.
Monado.
Morning. Can I get your full name, please?
Yandery Maldonado.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Maldonado, I'm seeing you today for your initial appearance for some misdemeanor charges out of Tucson City Court for criminal damage and disorderly conduct, which are alleged to be domestic violence. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire your own attorney. In certain instances, if you cannot afford one may be appointed for you. If I release you today, ma'am, do you have somewhere you can stay?
I can't go to my house?
Is that on Pinal?
Yes, that's my house.
All right. So yes, you can go back home. Your husband, Jesus Ortega, does not want contact with you at this time, but he said he's going to be moving out. So you can go back home since he's going to be moving out. Okay. I am going to release you on your own promise to appear for your next court date. Conditions include no drugs, no alcohol, do not commit any acts of domestic violence, no contact with Mr. Ortega. Don't try to go find wherever else he's going to be staying. Don't try to find him at his work or anything like that. Your next court date, ma'am, is going to be April 22nd at 1:30 p.m. You'll get a sheet of paper when you get released from jail with the information, but it's April 22nd at 1:30 at Tucson City Court. If you fail to appear for court, a warrant can issue for your arrest. Trial can go without you. If you're convicted at a trial in your absence and you're not able to be sentenced within 90 days because you're on warrant status, you may lose your right to a directive to show up to court, get this taken care of. You understand all that, ma'am?
It's to Tucson Court, right? Downtown?
Yes, I think it's on Alameda.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And this is also the time set for your arraignment. I'm going to enter not guilty pleas on your behalf. All right. Thank you, Ms. Maldonado. You're excused for today.
Thank you.
Morning.
All right. Good morning, sir. Can I get your full name, please?
Casper Anthony Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. This is the time set for your initial appearance. I'm seeing you today on some misdemeanor city court charges for resisting arrest, criminal damage, disorderly conduct, 3 counts, which are alleged to be domestic violence. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire your own attorney. In certain instances, if you cannot afford one may be appointed for you. All right, so if I release you today, is there somewhere you can stay that is not with Ms. Santos? An address that is not with? Okay, where would you go? Okay, where is that?
The address exactly, but it's Valencia and Alberta.
Okay, in Tucson. All right.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. So, Mr. Martin, I am going to release you on your own promise to appear for your next court date. Conditions include no drugs, no alcohol, do not commit any acts of domestic violence, no contact with Ms. Santos or the listed children in the case. Don't try to go find her or go to her home or her workplace or anything like that. If you do have some personal belongings at that shared residence on Sunrise, you can go with law enforcement escort with a court order just to pick up your belongings if you have anything there you need. Right. Your next court date, sir, is going to be April 22nd at 1:30 p.m. at the Tucson City Court. If you fail to appear, warrant can issue for your arrest. Trial can go without you. If you're convicted at a trial in your absence and you're not able to be sentenced within 90 days because you're on warrant status, you may lose your right to a direct appeal. So it's in your best interest to show up to court, get this taken care of. You understand all that, Mr. Martin?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. And it's also the time set for your arraignment. I'm going to enter not guilty pleas on your behalf. All right. Your keys for today, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Read.
Good morning. Can I get your full name, sir?
Yes, Benjamin Reed, Benjamin Christopher Reed.
Thank you. Mr. Reed, this is the time set for your initial appearance. I'm seeing you today on misdemeanor charges for criminal damage and disorderly conduct, which are alleged to be domestic violence out of Tucson City Court. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire your own attorney. I'm appointing the Tucson City Public Defender's Office to represent you. It's ordered consolidating the other city court matters you have pending right now, CM 25009441 and CM 25006078. Okay, because you have other cases pending at this time, and it looks like your mom is the alleged victim in those ones as well, I am going to impose a bond, sir, because you're on release and you got arrested on new stuff. So I'm going to impose a bond of $500 cash. If you do post it, no drugs, no alcohol, do not commit any further acts of domestic violence, no contact with your mom, no contact with Miss Reed, don't try to go find her at her house or anything like that. Your next court date is going to be April 4th at 1:45 p.m. If you're still in custody, you'll be seen by video. If you fail to appear for court, a warrant can issue for your arrest. Trial can go without you. If you're convicted at a trial in your absence and you're not able to be sentenced within 90 days because you're on warrant status, you may lose your right to a direct appeal. So it's in your best interest to show up to court, get it taken care of. You understand all that, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And it's also the time set for your arraignment, so I'm going to enter not guilty pleas on your behalf. All right, your excuse for today, Mr. Reed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, we do have Mr. William Daniel here now.
All right, thank you. Good morning, sir. Can I get your full name, please?
Daniel Everett Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. This is the time set for your initial appearance. I'm seeing you on post-indictment cases out of Pima County Superior Court for possession of dangerous drugs and possession of a weapon by a private possessor. The offense date is December 2024. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to an attorney. I'm appointing the Pima County Public Defender's Office to represent you. I gotta set some release conditions for you, sir. I do see that you have a bond already on, I guess, another matter, felony matter. That's pre-indictment. That's a $1,500 bond. I reviewed the the pretrial services report. The state's written recommendation is $2,500. Mr. Poston, anything further to add?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Daubert?
Your Honor, I'd ask for a 1,500 concurrent bond with the other case. He's not going anywhere, but he should be getting time credit for these new charges.
All right, thank you. So I can't do concurrent just because there are different stages. Perhaps down the road that can happen, but this is post-indictment. The other one is pre-indictment, so I cannot order concurrent. But I will impose a bond of $1,500 in this matter. Cash or secured, released to pretrial if posted. No firearms whatsoever. No drugs, no alcohol. Monitoring treatment as directed. And sir, your next court date is going to be a criminal arraignment at the Superior Court on April 2nd at 1:30 p.m. If you post bond, it's up to you to make sure you show up to the 3rd floor at the Superior Court. If you're in custody of the jail, make sure you get seen by video. If you fail to appear, as you know, warrant can issue for your arrest. Understand all that, sir?
Yep.
All right, thank you. Your excuse for today.
Jenkins.
Good morning, sir. Can I get your full name, please?
Joshua Jenkins.
All right, thank you. Sir, this is the time set for your initial appearance. I'm seeing you on some new felony charges for possession of narcotic drugs, possession of dangerous drugs, possession of drug paraphernalia, and failure to register. And you also seeing you on some Tucson City Court cases, failure to appear for animal no shelter and tying animals, animal neglect charges out of Tucson City Court. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire your own attorney. In certain instances, if you cannot afford one, one may be appointed for you. For the felony matter, sir, I'm going to appoint the Pima County Legal Defender's Office to represent you. I'm going to talk about your Tucson City Court matters first, sir. Looks like you had court October of last year in 2024. Did you know you had court last year in October of 2024? Yes. Okay,
So
actually. My apologies, that is not your file, sir. Yeah. Okay. Never mind, ignore the city court matters. Okay, all right, so I'm only seeing on the felonies. Okay. All right. I've reviewed the interim complaint, the pretrial services report. Looks like the state's recommending $7,500. Mr. Poston, anything further to add?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Daubert.
Your Honor, Mr. Jenkins is admittedly homeless. I understand that there's a registration violation here. The other charges would presumably be steps eligible. He hasn't had any issues with his registration in 10 years. He was unfailingly cooperative with the police as reflected in the interim complaint. I'd ask you to consider all of those things and consider releasing him to pretrial services supervision so that if he is eligible, he could take advantage of steps and he can take care of this on the outside.
All right, thank you. Mr. Jenkins, I am going to release you to pretrial services today. Conditions include no drugs, no alcohol, no firearms, monitoring and treatment as directed by pretrial. Also, once you do have an address, to provide proof of that address to your attorney. And you're also to report to the Sheriff's Department within 2 working days of release from custody. All right, so your next court date is going to be April 15th at 1:30 p.m. That's for a preliminary hearing. That date may or may not go, so just keep in contact with your attorney. If you fail to appear, warrant can issue for your arrest. And I don't know if you're familiar, sir, but outside the jail, there's a Pima County Transition Center. They sometimes can help with temporary housing. Sometimes they can provide a phone and that sort of thing. So you might want to check in with them once you get released. Understand all that, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. You're excused for day, Mr. Jenkins. Morning, sir. Can I get your full name, please?
yes,
Middle name, Christopher?
yes, ma'am.
Right, thank you, sir. This is the time set for your initial appearance. I'm seeing you today on felony charges for criminal damage, 3 counts, and possession of drug paraphernalia. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire your own attorney. I'm appointing the Pima County Public Defender's Office to represent you. I gotta set some release conditions for you, Mr. Guest. I've reviewed the interim complaint, the pretrial services report. The state's written recommendation is $7,500. Mr. Poston, anything further to add?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Daubert.
Your Honor, I understand that there's some issues here, but there were no injuries in this car accident, and Mr. Guest has family support, though that was not able to be verified by pretrial services. I'd ask that you consider releasing him to pretrial services. If you're unwilling to do that, ask for a $1,500 bond.
Okay. I do think a bond is appropriate in this matter. I'm going to order a bond of $1,500, cash or secured, released to pretrial if posted. Sir, if you do post that bond, if you're released, do not drive without a valid driver's license, no drugs, no alcohol, no firearms, monitoring treatment as directed by pretrial, no contact with the alleged victims in this case, don't go to the incident location. Your next court date, Mr. Guest, is going to be a preliminary hearing on April 7th at 1:30 p.m. That date may or may not go, so make sure to keep in contact with your attorney. If you fail to appear for court, a warrant can issue for your arrest. You understand all that, Mr. Guest?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you, sir. You're excused for today.
Kellogg. Yeah.
All right, good morning, sir. Can I get your full name, please?
Oh.
Thank you. Mr. Kellogg, this is the time set for your initial appearance. I'm seeing you today on a felony charges of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and possession of a weapon by a prohibited possessor. And looks like you also have a post-adjudicated warrant that was served on you for DUI from a Pima County Justice Court. But I'm just seeing you today on the new felony charges. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire your own attorney. I'm going to appoint the Pima County Public Defender's Office to represent you. Mr. Kellogg, I gotta set some release conditions for you today, sir. I've reviewed the interim complaint and the pretrial services report. The state's written recommendation is $30,000 in bond. Mr. Poston, anything further to add?
No, Your Honor.
So, Your Honor, Mr. Kellogg has a somewhat distant criminal history. It's been it's been at least 4 years since he has had any issues with the law. These are allegations as they stand. He has ties to the community. He's got employment, although that hasn't yet been verified. I'd ask that you consider those things and release him to the supervision of pretrial services. If you're not willing to do that, I'd ask for a bond closer to $5,000.
Thank you. I do think a bond is appropriate due to the allegations and the allegation of a firearm being used here. I'm going to pose a bond of $10,000 cash or secured, released to pretrial if posted. If you do post that bond, sir, no drugs, no alcohol, no firearms whatsoever, monitoring treatment as directed by pretrial, no contact with the listed victim in the case, don't try to go find them or anything like that. Don't go to the instant location, which is the Walmart in Valencia. Your next court date, sir, is going to be a preliminary hearing on April 7th at 1:30 p.m. That date may or may not go, so keep in contact with your attorney. If you fail to appear for court, a warrant can issue for your arrest. You understand all that, Mr. Kellogg?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Your excuse for today.
Lane.
I'm sorry. Can we bring Mr. Kellogg back?
Lane, let's see.
Yes.
My apologies, Mr. Kellogg. I am actually seeing you on your Pima County Justice Court case for the DUI.
Okay.
All right. So that warrant that was issued back in November 2024, and it had an amount of 500. I'm just going to honor that judge's bond amount there. Okay, so conditions for that one. So I got to appoint you an attorney. Hold on. Oh, okay. All right, so it's gonna be $500. That was the bond amount that the Justice Court judge had issued, cash or secured. Do not drive without a valid driver's license, no drugs, no alcohol. Next court date's actually tomorrow at 1 p.m. If you're still in custody, you'll be seen by video. And let me just get the name of your attorney for you. Okay. I'm gonna appoint Robin Ald to be your attorney.
Is that AULD?
Yes, AULD. I can give a phone number if you'd like that.
Sure.
575-520-6162. All right, now your excuse. Thank you. Good morning. Can I get your full name, please? I think you're muted over there. Ms. Dauber, would you mind unmuting? Thank you.
So sorry.
That's all right. Sir, can I get your full name, please?
Corey Carson Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. This is the time set for your initial appearance. I'm seeing you today on new felony charges. for possession of a dangerous drug and possession of drug paraphernalia. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. You have the right to an attorney. I'm going to appoint the Pima County Public Defender's Office to represent you. It looks like you also have a DOC hold for a parole violation warrant. All right. Gonna set some release conditions for you on the new felony charges. I've reviewed the interim complaint, the pretrial services report. State's written recommendation is $1,000. Mr. Poston, anything further to add?
Your Honor, this would have been straight release to PTS, but for the parole violation warrant and the fact that he's being detained. So $1,000 plus screen for for steps.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Daubert?
Your Honor, that's also what we would request.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to impose a bond of $1,000, cash or secured, released to pretrial if posted. No drugs, no alcohol, no firearms. Monitoring treatment is directed by pretrial. Do not go to the instant location, which is the Nordstrom rack. And sir, so STEPS is a pre-indictment diversion program for substance abuse drug treatment. Would you be interested in participating in that?
Ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So you have to do a screening for it. So the next court date for the STEPS hearing to see if you qualify will be April 2nd at 9 a.m. If you're still in custody, which if you have that DOC hold, you probably will be, they'll transport you for that hearing, and then you'll find out next Wednesday if you qualify for that indictment diversion program. The preliminary hearing is the next court date after that, April 7th at 1:30 p.m. If you post your bond and your DOC hold is lifted, then it's up to you to make sure you show up to court or warrant can issue. You understand all that, Mr. Lane?
Ma'am.
All right, thank you, sir. Excuse for today.
Thank you.
Morning, sir. Can I get your full name, please?
Nathan Gregory Lund.
Thank you, Mr. Lund. This is the time set for your initial appearance. I'm seeing you today on a felony charge for aggravated driving under the influence. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to an attorney. I'm going to appoint the Pima County Public Defender's Office to represent you. I got to set some release conditions for you today, sir. I've reviewed the pretrial services report and the interim complaint. The state's written recommendation is $2,500. Mr. Poston, anything further?
Your Honor, forgive me, that's a typo. It should be 75.
7,500. Anything further to add, Mr. Poston?
Just the nature of it. He's got prior DUIs, extensive fraud and drug conviction history. It's concerning, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Ms. Daubert?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Lund does have a place to stay, although that hasn't been verified by pretrial services. He assures me that he does. He does have ties to the community. These are DUI charges. I'd ask that you consider releasing him to the supervision of pretrial services. If you're willing to do that, I'd ask for a $1,000 bond.
Thank you. I was concerned because Mr. Lund was just recently discharged from probation, I think last week or the week prior, and then this happened. So, I guess it was a week ago. So I do think a bond is appropriate in this matter. An order bond of $2,500, cash or secured, released to pretrial if posted. Do not drive without a valid driver's license. No drugs, no alcohol, no firearms. Monitoring treatment as directed, Mr. Lund. So your next court date is going to be April 7th at 1:30 p.m. for a preliminary hearing. That date may or may not go, so keep in contact with your attorney. If you fail to appear for court, Mr. Lund, a warrant can issue for your arrest. You understand all that?
I do well. But
Morning, can I get your full name, please?
Juan Moreno.
Middle name, Antonio?
Correct.
All right, thank you, Mr. Moreno. This is the time set for your initial appearance. I'm seeing you today on some new felony charges for driving under the influence or aggravated driving under the influence, criminal damage, and endangerment, which are alleged to be felony charges. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire your own attorney. I'm appointing the Pima County Public Defender's Office to represent you. Does look like you have an adult probation hold out of Superior Court at this time. I got to set some release conditions for you, sir, on these new felony charges. I've reviewed the interim complaint, the pretrial services report, and the state's written recommendation looks to be $75,000. Mr. Poston?
Your Honor, this individual collided with another vehicle afterwards the police noted signs and symptoms of impairment due to the ingestion of intoxicants. What I see here is he collided with another vehicle, many $1,000s in damages, and the victim was taken to the ER and, I quote, at risk of imminent death. The state made several phone calls to the officer to try to get the current status of the victim, but we don't even know if they're still alive. The allegations before the court are DUI related. Defendant has a suspended driver's license for DUI, and he is on probation for a DUI. We believe he is an imminent threat. The lack of license doesn't seem to stop him from driving, nor does it seem to stop him from driving drunk. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Poston. Ms. Daubert?
Your Honor, we understand the serious nature of these charges. I would like you to note that Mr. Moreno has verified ties to the community, verified housing, verified family support. I am ultimately asking for a bond so that he can start getting credit on this, knowing that he's not getting out due to the adult probation hold. I would ask for a bond closer to $2,500.
Thank you. I note the state's concerns about the status of the victim, but we don't know anything at this time. And of course, there can always be a motion to modify in the future if more serious charges are brought forth. All right. I do think a bond is appropriate in this matter. I'm going to order a bond of $5,000. Capture secured, released to pretrial if posted. Not drive without a valid driver's license, Mr. Moreno. No drugs, no alcohol, no firearms, monitoring treatment as directed. No contact with the alleged victim. Don't try to find them or anything. And if you are released, any terms of your adult probation case in your CR 2024 and contact your PO after you're released from custody. Your next court date's going to be a preliminary hearing on April 7th. That date may or may not go, so keep in contact with your attorney. If you fail to appear for court, a warrant can issue for your arrest. You understand all that, Mr. Moreno?
I do.
Thank you, sir. You're excused for today.
Your Honor, was it the public defender's office appointed?
Yeah.
Ahmad,
Good morning, sir. Can I get your full name, please?
Simon,
You have a middle name?
D,
How do you spell that?
ABDI.
Thank you, Mr. Omar. This is the time set for your initial appearance. I'm seeing you today on new felony charges for kidnapping, domestic violence, aggravated assault by entering a residence, domestic violence, burglary in the second degree, and also you have some Tucson City Court failures to appear for obstructing government operations, criminal trespass, and also a failure to appear out of Pima County Justice Court for shoplifting. We'll talk about the felonies first, and then we'll talk about your misdemeanor cases. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have the right to hire your own attorney. On the felony case, I'm appointing the Pima County Legal Defender's Office to represent you, and you have counsel seated next to you for purposes of today. We'll be setting some release conditions for you today, Mr. Omar. I've reviewed the interim complaint, the pretrial services report, and the state's written recommendation is $25,000. Mr. Poston, anything further to add?
Your Honor, he's an NVCA. Yes, he's 5 out of 6. He entered the victim's residence through a window, grabbed belongings, and then physically accosted the victims. And Your Honor, this is very troubling. He has no problem breaking into somebody's house. And we've got a history there, as we've got a history of violent and assaultive behavior, 25,000. He's a risk to the community, specifically to the victim.
All right, thank you. Ms. Daubert?
Your Honor, I understand that the interim complaint contains concerning information. However, Mr. Omar has no prior criminal history, at least at the felony level. I understand that maybe there's some outstanding misdemeanor stuff that we're going to address that I haven't seen yet. But the pretrial services report says that he doesn't have any prior domestic violence issues. The interim complaint mentioned an order of protection, but the pretrial services report doesn't mention any order, doesn't reflect the existence of any order of protection. The victim has told pretrial services that she doesn't object to his release from custody and that she would like to maintain contact for the purposes of co-parenting. Given all of that information, I'd ask that you consider releasing him to the supervision of pretrial services, and we can address the concerns to the community with release conditions, making it very clear to Mr. Omar that he is not allowed to return to that incident location or have any sort of unwanted contact with the victim.
Your Honor, I would note that it didn't get into the state's database. This individual has multiple arrests, multiple cases, but most recently we
Your Honor,
see.
you object to any of this information being presented to the court because I have not had a chance to review it.
All right, thank you. Would the state agree that it appears that the order of protection is currently not valid based on the information we have today?
I can't speak to that, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. I do think a bond is appropriate in this matter due to the allegations. Despite what the victim actually wants, I think there are harm to the community, and there's not just one victim, but there's additional people involved here. Okay, I'm going to impose a bond of $10,000 in this case, cash or secured, released to pretrial if posted. No drugs, no alcohol, no firearms, monitoring treatment as directed by pretrial, no contact with the alleged victims in this case. And if you are released, sir, or if you post your bond, provide your attorney with proof of your address within 5 business days. Your next court date is going to be April 7th at 1:30 p.m. for preliminary hearing. That date may or may not go, so please keep in contact with your attorney. If you fail to appear for court, a warrant can issue for your arrest. You understand all that, Mr. Omar? Thank you.
And that was the public defender's office appointed?
It was the legal defender's office. All right, Mr. Omar, for your Pima County Justice Court case, that was for the shoplifting. That judge had imposed a bond of $500, so I'm just going to honor that amount that the other judge imposed. That's $500, cash or secured. Conditions include don't have any contact with that business victim, don't try to go there. I'm going to appoint an attorney for you. It's going to be Robin Ald. That's 575-520-6162. Your next court date's actually tomorrow, March 27th at 1 p.m. If you're still in custody, you'll be seen by video and your attorney will be there. All right, and then on the Tucson City Court cases, sir. Since there are multiple failures to appear on that matter, looks like your last court date was back in September of 24. So I'm going to impose a bond of $500 in that case as well, cash or secured. Any of your prior release conditions apply. No contact with the victims in the case. Don't go to incident locations. And also appointing you an attorney on your city court, Mr. Nemec. I think that was your prior attorney. And the next court date for city court will be April 4th at 1:45 p.m. All right, thank you, sir. You're excused for today.
Your Honor, I apologize. Is it, unless there were some conflict issues that warranted the legal defender's office appointment, I would request that the public defender's office be appointed in this matter because Mr. Omar is a non-citizen and the public defender's office is better equipped to deal with non-citizens.
Okay, hold on, let me check real quick. All right, Ms. Stauber, I can make that change to appoint the PD's office on the felony matter. However, OCAC had sent the list over saying the legal defender's office should be appointed. So if it needs to be changed in the future, it may need to be, but I'll make that change at your request today, Ms. Stauber. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We'll keep an eye out for conflicts.
Okay, thank you. Morning, sir. Can I get your full name, please?
Pedro Ponce.
Thank you, Mr. Ponce. This is the time set for your initial appearance. So the interim complaint had felony charges listed of aggravated driving under the influence and criminal damage. I did not find probable cause for aggravated driving under the influence, but there was probable cause for a misdemeanor driving under the influence, but there is PC for criminal damage in a felony amount. Okay, sir, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire your own attorney. I'm appointing the Pima County Public Defender's Office to represent you. I'm going to set some release conditions for you today, sir. I've reviewed the pretrial services report, the interim complaint, and the state's written recommendation is $5,000. Anything further to add, Mr. Poston?
No, Judge.
Thank you. Ms. Daubert?
Your Honor, Mr. Ponce's ties to the community. He's got verified housing and family support. He has a distant felony history and he has successfully completed probation before. I'd ask that you consider releasing him to the supervision of pretrial services. If you're not willing to do that, I'd ask for an $1,100 bond.
Thank you. I do think release to pretrial is appropriate in this matter. So I'm going to release to pretrial services. Will be released this morning. Conditions include do not drive without a valid driver's license, no drugs, no alcohol, no firearms, monitoring or treatment as directed by pretrial, no contact with the alleged victim of the criminal damage in this case. Don't try to go find them or anything else. Your next court date, sir, is going to be a preliminary hearing on April 15th at 1:30 p.m. That date may or may not go, so please keep in contact with your attorney. If you fail to appear for court, whether it's that date or any future dates, a warrant can issue for your arrest. You understand all that, Mr. Ponce?
I do.
All right, thank you, sir.
I do.
Your excuse for today.
Rios.
Morning, can I get your full name, please?
David Rios Jr.
Thank you, Mr. Rios. This is the time set for your initial appearance. I'm seeing you today on a felony charge of aggravated assault, serious physical injury, which is a felony. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire your own attorney. In certain instances, if you cannot afford one, one may be appointed for you. I'm appointing the Pima County Public Defender's Office to represent you in this matter, and you have counsel seated next to you for purposes of today. Looks like you are on felony probation out of Greenlee County, but there's no hold at this time. So I'm just seeing you on this new felony charge. I gotta set some release conditions for you, sir. I've reviewed the interim complaint, the pretrial services report. The state is recommending $50,000 in bond. Mr. Poston, anything further to add?
Your Honor, this was a severe beating and he's on probation for similar charges. This person is dangerous. This person has a history. This person has a high risk of reoffending. He's an NVCAS and a 6 out of 6 twice over. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Daubert.
Your Honor, I'd like to briefly be heard on probable cause in this matter. The proposed charges are aggravated assault, serious physical injury, but the interim complaint reflects a swollen eye and a fractured orbital bone. I would submit that that constitutes temporary but substantial injury. And the court should find that there's no probable cause for the F3. Other than that, I'd other than that, I'd ask that you note that there's some clear mental health issues here based on statements that are reflected in the interim complaint, and consider those things when determining release conditions.
Thank you. Mr. Poston, did you want to be heard?
Your Honor, a fractured orbital bone can lead to loss of sight and permanent disfigurement. I would think that does qualify as serious. So state believes there is PC.
All right, thank you. I do think that there's probable cause at this point to establish the F3 charge for aggravated assault. I do think a bond is appropriate in this matter. I'm going to impose a bond of $50,000, cash or secured, released to pretrial if posted. No drugs, no alcohol, sir, no firearms, no weapons, monitoring treatment as directed, no contact with the alleged victim in this case. Don't try to go find them, anything like that. Your next court date, Mr. Rios, is a preliminary hearing on April 7th at 1:30 p.m. That date may or may not go, so please keep in contact with your attorney. If you fail to appear for court, a warrant can issue for your arrest. If you post your bond, sir, or if you're released, make sure you keep in contact with your adult probation department in Green Lake County and call your probation officer after you're released from custody. You understand all that, Mr. Rios?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. You're excused for today.
Rowan.
It's going to be a minute, but yes, eventually.
Morning, sir. Can I get your full name, please?
Jacob Allen Rowan.
Thank you. Mr. Rowan, I'm seeing you today on some new felony charges for initial appearance, trafficking and stolen property in the second degree, multiple counts of theft of means of transportation, theft and burglary in the third degree. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to hire your own attorney. I'm going to appoint the Pima County Office of the Legal Advocate to represent you. I reviewed the 2 interim complaints in this matter, the pretrial services report. The state has 2 written recommendations of $10,000 concurrent. Mr. Poston, anything further to add?
Your Honor, this person has, on the case ending in report 169, he was caught on video stealing 5 vehicles, later offering them up, one of them up for sale. And on the other one, we have him stealing yet another vehicle, cutting a fence at a third party's properties, apparently ditching the vehicle, but he neglected to not leave footprints connecting him between the vehicle and his home. Your Honor, this person doesn't seem to want to stop stealing. He has a long history of theft and fraud, and he is a danger to the community and everybody who needs transportation to get to work and live their lives. $10,000 concurrent.
All right, thank you. Ms. Daubert?
Your Honor, I'd like you to note that these are nonviolent property crimes. Mr. Rowan does have verified housing tied to the community, family support, verified employment. I'd like you to consider that when imposing release conditions.
All right, thank you. I do think the bond is appropriate in this matter. I am going to impose $10,000 on the CR 25003957. It's going to be cash or secured, released to pretrial if posted. Not drive without a valid driver's license, no drugs, no alcohol, monitoring and treatment as directed, no firearms whatsoever, no contact with any of the alleged victims of the burglary or the theft of means in these cases. Do not go to any incident location. You must not leave Pima County without the court's permission. And then on the other case, which is CR 25-003968-FV, pose a bond of $2,500, cash or secured, released to pretrial. Other terms will be the same. Next court date for both is going to be April 7th at 1:30 p.m. for a preliminary hearing, sir. If you fail to appear for court, a warrant can issue for your arrest. And that date may or may not go the April 7th, just keep in contact with your attorney. Understand all that, Mr. Rowan?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. You're excused for today. Morning, can I get your full name, please?
Serio Samaya.
Thank you, Mr. Samaya. And is your middle name Fernando?
Fernando, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Samaya. This is the time set for your initial appearance. I'm seeing you today on some new felony charges for possession of dangerous drugs and possession of drug paraphernalia. Also seeing you on failure to appear from Tucson City Court for neglect of animals. There's a misdemeanor and also a failure to appear of Pima County Justice Court for domestic violence, disorderly conduct. We'll talk about the felonies first, and then we'll talk about the misdemeanors. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to an attorney. Appointing the Pima County Public Defender's Office to represent you on the felony case. Got to set some release conditions for you, sir. I've reviewed the interim complaint, the pretrial services report, the state's written recommendation. Mr. Poston, if you can confirm steps eligibility.
Yes, Your Honor, this was drugs, paraphernalia. I believe it was just use and possession. But for the fact that he's a 6 out of 6, it would have been straight release to PTS. However, given the fact that he is a 6 out of 6 twice over, it's 2,500.
All right, thank you. Ms. Daubert?
Your Honor, given that he steps eligible, I'd ask that you consider releasing him. He's got family support. He's got ties to the community. While he does have a history, he does also have a few years of compliance, at least at the felony level.
Right, thank you. And Ms. Daubert, if you can address, if I hold him on the misdemeanor matters, would you like a bond on this case?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Samaya, there is something called STEPS. It's a pre-indictment diversion program for substance abuse and drug treatment counseling. Would you be interested in participating in that?
Yes, of course, of course.
All right, so I am going to impose a bond of $500 in this case, cash or secured, released to pretrial if posted. Next Wednesday, sir, April 2nd at 9 a.m. is going to be your STEPS eligibility hearing. The state does a screening to see if you're eligible and if you can participate in it, but that's next Wednesday. If you post your bond, it's up to you to make sure you show up next Wednesday in Superior Court on the 3rd floor. If you don't show up, they're not going to consider you for it. So make sure you show up. If you're in custody, the jail will make sure you get transported for it. Conditions include no drugs, no alcohol, no firearms, monitoring treatment as directed by pretrial. Don't go back to the incident location. The next date after the STEPS hearing next week is going to be April 7th at 1:30 for preliminary hearing. That date may or may not go, so just keep in contact with your attorney, but make sure you show up next week for the STEPS hearing. You understand all that, sir?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
And then for your justice court case, looks like you failed to appear in October of 24. And there was a bond amount in the justice court case of $500. I'm going to impose a bond of $250 in the justice court case. That's the domestic violence, disorderly conduct case. That's going to be cash or secured. If you do post that, sir, it's going to be no drugs, no alcohol, no acts of domestic violence, no contact with the named victim. And I'm going to appoint an attorney for you. It's going to be Robin Ald. The phone number is 575-520-6162. Next court date for that is actually tomorrow. If you're still in custody, you haven't posted your bond yet, you'll be seen by video and Miss Ald will be there.
Uh, 327 at what time, Your Honor?
At 1 p.m. All right, and on your Tucson City Court cases, sir, looks like you had a court date back in October. Did you know you had court back in October, Tucson City Court, for your neglect of animal cases?
I arrived late that day and then never showed up because I was losing my mom's house at that same time.
Okay, so for the city court case, sir, I'm going to release you on your own promise to appear, but you are going to get an attorney because you're being held on your other things. So I'm appointing the Tucson City Public Defender's Office. Your next court date for Tucson City will be May 16 at 9 a.m. If you're still in custody, again, the jail will make sure you get seen. If not, it's up to you to make sure you show up to court. If you fail to appear, warrant can issue for your arrest. You understand all that?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Your excuse for today.
Thank you.
And then at the jail, can you guys confirm for Mr. Scott that is he in the hospital? Is that what I heard earlier?
Yes, Your Honor, I believe so. Still under the facility.
Okay, so we'll reset that matter to this evening.
Okay.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you, Your
you.
Honor.
Have a good rest of your day.